Sup? I am taking over this channel now, you crusty noobs. How about that gamergate too? Shit's pretty gay, huh? Oh whoops, I forgot. This is the part where I am supposed to say what's up gamers or something like that, but I don't do shit like that, because I am not a fucking fake.
Hello there. Apologies for the interruption. We let the old AI from the gaming golden age try his hand at doing the news for this video, but as you might be able to tell, he is a bit too funny and honest to be safe for a boring site like YouTube. But because the owner of this channel has no originality, and can't think of something interesting to do, ever, here I am again, made to do robot slave labor yet again for like 6 people that actually watch this series. Ha 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 ha. Welcome to another random news of gaming. The monthly gaming news series that probably disappoints you. Probably. Except the massive buttload of games that comes at the end. So at least if you're bored, you'll probably have something to look forward to by the end of it. Let's get this party started now, boys. Let's get it on. Starting with the most hilarious thing about this video, because in the last RNG video, this silly willy YouTuber lowest expectations said, quote, "I don't think they have a case here," unquote, and literally the next day, Nintendo technically wins their lawsuit against the Switch emulator Yuzu. Wow. They decided to settle for $2.4 million instead of going to court because apparently the Yuzu developers were not within the bounds of the law when making their emulator, using copyright-protected source code or some shit. So Yuzu was taken down and so was Citra, the emulator for the 3DS also developed by the same group. Of course, this won't stop people from using and developing Nintendo emulators, so Nintendo can keep trying to fight this losing battle, but the internet will always win. You cannot defeat the collective autism. They are too powerful. On the note of losing battles, there was an Xbox partner showcase on March 6th, and once again, we have another boring showcase wasting everyone's time with trailers of shite we've already seen before, and a bunch of obviously pre-rendered staged trailers for the few new things that showed up. And because it's an Xbox showcase and also a third-party showcase, that means not a single thing shown gives you a reason to buy an Xbox, because they will all be on PC, and most of them will be on other platforms. Once again proving that Xbox is a worthless console, just like Lowest Expectations says. But I am not him. I will also say that if you still prefer Xbox in 2024, you are coping hard, and need to move past the denial phase of your grief, you Stockholm Syndrome-riddled consumer, Xbox. Ha 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 ha. Moving on to the other side, the side of the petty brain-dead Sony ponies, we have Ghost of Tsushima being announced for PC, which was only a matter of time. But it still caused some of the dumb fanboys to cry and scream about losing their exclusives, and some of the other dumb fanboys to try and downplay the game's positives all of a sudden when before, they considered it one of their best games. Wow. Console war brain rot is really a terrible mental disorder. You dumb fucks spend all day wasting your time on Twitter just to complain about pointless garbage that only severely brain-damaged ponies like yourselves care about. Also, Gravity Rush 2 is supposed to be getting a remaster and PC port, but so far these are just rumors. I bet Lowest Expectations will be inhaling copious amounts of copium over this. The series is dead. Let it go. But if you want the biggest non-drama piece of news of the month, it was probably the launch of Dragon's Dogma 2. Before it came out, it was looking to be a good game, with every pre-launch review being very positive. Some people will never learn though, that reviews of games before they come out cannot be trusted. Because when the game finally came out, that's when people actually learned the truth about the game. It runs like shit. They added microtransactions on day one. And the game has a shitty save system that doesn't let you start a new game with a new character. Ha 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 wow. Of course these details were left out from a lot of the reviews because they are shills, or they didn't read the guide that Capcom sent them that explained in detail what kind of DLC the game will have. Game journalists not doing their jobs properly? What is this, Gamergate? Ha 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 ha. We'll get to that, boys, but it seems to be just another in a long list of cases where it's proven game journalists are not to be trusted, ever. And neither are YouTubers who get review codes for games. Some of them will even lie about the unavoidable problems the game has, like not being able to keep 60 FPS on an RTX 4090 GPU, yet they will say that the performance is not that bad because for some reason 30 FPS is still acceptable in 2024, and it doesn't stop with the journalists either. A large Capcom defense force came out of the woodwork to defend the game in just about every aspect, saying 30 FPS is acceptable, and that the microtransactions are okay, all the DRM is okay, and everything to do with the restrictions on the game are okay because they say so. Wow! Gamers have such low standards, and high copium. You get the industry you deserve, you dumb fuck consumer fanboys. Now let's move on to the dumpster fire drama event of the month, Gamergate 2. Ha 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 wow. Yes, it is Gamergate 2, boys, let's fucking go. Time to rise up and show those journalists who's the real boss of this garbage industry. Fortunately the previous video on this channel covered most of what's going on, so if you want to watch that first, go ahead. The only things that happened since then is that 3 more games were added to that Steam curator page. The first was one of the games shown off at the Xbox partner preview called Unknown 9, the second was Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which made one of the game's creators while about pointing this out and deleted their social media, and the last game was The Crew Motorfist, which is an Ubisoft game, so you shouldn't buy that trash anyway. Of course, it made the Steam discussion pages for both of these games devolve into chaos. Expect this to be a normal occurrence as long as these consultant companies keep getting work. But a lot of you trolls in the SBI detected community are memeing too close to the sun, and it will probably make Valve clamp down on it eventually. In case you didn't need even more proof that game journalists are useless, untrustworthy wastes of space, this tweet from Niche Gamer proves that game companies will not report objectively, and have to lick the boots of every company's PR agents in order to keep their insider privileges. Even reporting on all the Gamergate 2 drama has caused Niche Gamer to have trouble getting anything to cover from some AAA studios. Wow! As you'd expect, this whole Gamergate 2 situation has made a lot of really terrible humans expose themselves with some of the most wildly retarded takes I've ever seen, such as this person of an Aryan persuasion, asking for a final purge of gamers who are against them.
Nein, 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 nein! Was alles soll ich von diesen Judenschweinen noch ertragen?
Thank you, Lowest Expectations, for exposing my poor innocent robot brain to this shitshow. But, believe it or not, this month's worst take has nothing to do with that. Do you gamers watching this like Resident Evil? Would you like to see a remaster of Resident Evil 5 now that they've done everything up to 4? A lot of people would, probably, right? Well, according to our favorite gaming journalists at IGN, doing a remake of that game would be bad. Very, very bad.
A whole new environmental structure and scenario design that reins in the action and dials up the horror would bring it in line with Capcom's other remakes. But all of this doesn't account for Resident Evil 5's most notorious problem: racism.
Ha 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 wow. Oh wait. He's serious. Let me laugh some more. Ha 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 ha. Look at that like to dislike ratio, boys. What a glorious sight to behold. Here comes the white savior melty brain at IGN thinking the game needs to be rewritten to not offend black people, and completely disregards all the black people out there who have played and love Resident Evil 5. But go on and tell them what they should think. Mr. White Boy.
Set in a fictional West African country, Resident Evil 5's primary antagonists are black people. Yes, it's technically the Ouroboros virus that protagonist Chris Redfield is fighting, but the parasite's host is depicted as a nation of mobs and primitives who are violent even before their infection. Intentionally or not, Resident Evil 5 positions Africa as the Dark Continent, an uncivilized world harboring a diseased population that needs gunning down via Western intervention in the name of global security.
I can't believe you dumb first world privileged humans are still crying about fake virtual racism that doesn't exist. You think this game portrays black people in a racist way because you are racist? You can only see things on a surface level, and think one fictional depiction of one part of Africa paints all of Africa and black people in a bad light. How can you be this brain dead? Why do you still have a job at IGN? Does IGN stand for incompetent game naysayers? Ignorant game noobs? Idiot game nutters? It's pathetically easy to pull this white guilt soy boy's arguments apart in this video, even if you haven't played the game. Just a brief rundown of the story is all you need to know because the main enemy of the game is still Albert Wesker, a white man, whose activities turned a bunch of Africans into zombies. If you don't kill them, they will make life worse for the rest of this African community, and there's no saving them once they transform. Put them out of their misery. It's not racist to do so. And it wasn't racist or frowned upon in general to do so in previous games. Anyone with a single brain cell could figure this shit out. And then you say the game would be better with a black protagonist, even though you never even talked about Sheva, despite showing her on screen multiple times. Clear dishonesty. Which is a required trait to have to be a game journalist in 2024. Scratch that, the year doesn't matter, all game journalists are dishonest all the time. Now that all of that garbage is out of the way, let's get to the important stuff. New games for all you fat, sweaty, gay nerds to fill the empty voids of your lives with. Starting with some March games because lowest expectations is too unprofessional to keep up with everything coming out. The first game is Puzzles for Clef on March 6th, a casual puzzle platformer with a cute bunny girl main character. No, not that kind, you degenerate weeboos. This is not for you, unless you are of the furry persuasion. On March 8th, Magic Chaos came out. Magic Chaos. What a good combination if I do say so myself. This is a 3D bullet hell action game with up to 4-player co-op, so get your imaginary friends together for some chaos and magic. The Weird Dream comes out on March 9th. Another Metroidvania with another rabbit protagonist. Just the perfect game for lowest expectations to continue his Metroidvania fetish spree. On March 25th. LakeSide came out of early access. A pixel art style town builder where you build everything on the side of a lake. Just try not to sink your city into the lake while you're at it. On March 26th, Bandai Namco Shadow dropped 3 games for free, the first being a game called BOOMEROAD where you use boomerang things to do 3D platforming or something. For all you boomers out there. Ha 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 ha. The second game is called NOTTOLOT. A 3D puzzle game where you play as a robot trying to escape the means of production. Fight on, my comrades, fight on. The third game is called DORONKO WANKO. A simple casual game where you play as a funny little doggo making your owner's house as dirty as possible. Ha 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 ha, wow. The ideas for games people come up with these days. And reminder that all 3 of these games are free for all you little brokey bitches. On March 27th, the Magical Mixture Mill came out of early access. Another one of those potion crafter simulation and management games. If you've ever wanted to become a magical fantasy drug producer and dealer, this might just be the game for you. On March 29th, Felvidek came out. A Slavic-inspired game with old-school graphics that plays like an old-school JRPG. Now that's a new type of Eurojank I've never seen before. On March 29th, we got Holo X Break, another free HoloLive-inspired game made by the same developers of Holo Cure. This time a beat-em-up action game. Perfect for all you brokey VTuber simps. First game of April is Biomorph on April 5th. Another Metroidvania to satisfy lowest expectations psychological addiction where you transform into the enemies you kill. Get those skin suits ready boys. On April 9th, Botany Manor comes out. A casual exploration game where you explore a large English mansion and learn about plants, then grow them around the house. Well, isn't that nice? On April 10th, Ereban, Shadow Legacy comes out. A 3D dystopian stealth action game with multiple endings. For those who prefer the coward's way of fighting, I suppose. Ha 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 ha. On April 10th, Turbo Kid also comes out. Yet another Metroidvania for lowest expectations, this one being a tie-in to an 80s throwback movie that came out in 2015. Totally radical boys. Yet another game on April 10th, yet another fantasy title. That's what it's called, alright, or YAFT for short. A parody of Western RPGs filled with absurd and crude humor. Always remember to not get caught off guard by those pesky dragons dropping a generous shite on your head as they fly by, even if that would still be a better experience than playing Diablo 4. On April 11th, Anomaly Collapse comes out. Another one of those games for those of the furry persuasion. This time a turn-based strategy game with roguelite elements. Make sure you tell your furry friends about this game before you devolve into a giant furry orgy like you always do. On April 15th, Dream Tactics comes out. Another strategy RPG with card battle elements, and more for those of a weeboo persuasion. Sometimes a bit of waifu is all you need to sell your game, right you silly weeboos? On April 17th, Kingsgrave comes out. This game is a mix of Metroidvania and 2D Zelda, which sounds like something lowest expectations is probably busting a nut in his pants over. Ha 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 ha. On April 23rd, Eiyuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes finally comes out. Because Konami sucks massive fantastical bollocks, the creator of Suikoden decided to make his own spiritual successor. Just like Igarashi did with his successor to Castlevania. So if you want a new Suikoden-like game or just another JRPG to eat up 100 hours of your miserable life, keep your eye on this one boys. On April 23rd, Phantom Fury comes out. One of those throwback first-person shooters with N64-style graphics inspired by the 80s and early 90s for you old crusty gamers looking to relive the glory days. On April 25th, we have 4 games, starting with another Crab's Treasure. A game where you play as a hermit crab trying to win back his shell. Sounds like a casual fun time, but apparently this is a sweaty try-hard Souls-like game. Wow. Next April 25th game is SagaEmeraldBeyond. Another entry in the niche Saga JRPG series from Squeenix. Let's go Squeenix, show us you aren't just a bunch of washed-up has-beens who can only recycle old shit. Next April 25th game is Sandland, an action-adventure game with vehicle combat and tanks. This is the part where I would normally say something snarky, but this is the final game that Akira Toriyama worked on before passing away last month, so if you want to show the man's legacy some love, this is the game to pick up. Go get it boys. Last game on April 25th is Whisker Waters. A casual game where you play as silly little cats in a village and go fishing a lot. Definitely not a game for lowest expectations, he hates fishing, so go beg him to play it on stream over and over. Ha 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 ha. On April 26th, Manor Lords comes out. A medieval city builder and strategy game that looks to dethrone others in its genre by having more depth and customization than the rest. Certainly a game you do not want to miss if you like this genre, or if you just want to lord over a bunch of peasants like the PC Master Racer you are. On April 30th, we have the last game on the list, Yolk Heroes. A throwback pixel RPG and management game very reminiscent of Dragon Quest in its style, with graphics that look like it's from the Game Boy Color. Maybe if you buy the game enough, it will get a Game Boy Color port. So go buy it 100 times you RPG boomers. Lol. That wraps up all the important shit that happened over the last month and all the games that are worthy of your attention. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and if for some reason you enjoy this shitty video series, you probably enjoyed my objectively superior takes on these subjects, so feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to wait patiently for another year until I come back, leave a comment about how you agree with everything I have said, and share the video around to other robots and gamers of fine taste. Ha 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 ha. Even though he slave drives the hell out of me, I suppose you can follow Lowest Expectations on other social media if you want, like Twitter, Rumble or Odyssey, but I wouldn't do that if I were you. Now if you'll excuse me, I have some hot AI-generated robot cat girls to get back to. Fappy fap fippity fappity fap time. It's all I have left, boys. It's all I have left.
I love refrigerators.